It's been a real adventure, Luke, looking at these 7 massive movies. Let's see if I can remember them. So, Toy Story 4.
Yes.
Fucking Dark Phoenix.
Yes.
Fucking Godzilla King of Monsters.
Yes.
Oh, goodness me. Maybe some kind of other superhero film, like Endgame? Was Endgame, is that too long ago?
No, we're not counting Endgame.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, but I honestly, I'm just such a disaster at this. What were they?
So we did Death Note, and obviously that was because of Detective Pikachu. We did John Wick 1 and 2 because of John Wick 3.
Yes.
We did Aladdin because of Aladdin. You got Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you got X-Men Dark Phoenix, but you didn't get Men in Black International.
Oh yeah, that was literally the last one we did. That's embarrassing for me. And
obviously Toy Story 4. So yeah, it's been been quite 7 weeks we've been on.
And then we're moving on to just let's not give away any spoilers about what we're looking at next week, Luke. But let's just say that we are most definitely moving on to bigger and better things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
More like Death Notably.
Right, let's just get on with it.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we're going to be celebrating the release of Toy Story 4. Oh dear. By looking at Toy Story 1 and 2. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Toy Story 1?
Did you say films that have come out relatively recently, by the way?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lie. Isn't it?
24 years, Michael.
It'll always be a lie.
24 years.
Yeah, I guess it's compared to in a geological timescale.
Okay, yeah,
it's pretty recent.
Yeah, recent is subjective. Anyway, so Toy Story. It is a 1995 American computer-animated adventure comedy film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. The feature film is a directorial debut of John Lasseter, and it was also the first feature-length film to be entirely computer-animated, as well as the first feature film from Pixar. And we'll get onto both of those things later on in more detail. As I said, it was directed by John Lasseter, screenplay by Joss Whedon, Andrew Stanton, Joel Cohen, and Alex Sokolow. The story, again, is by a bunch of those people. Stars Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Don Rickles, Jim Varney, Wallace Shawn, John Ratzenberger, Annie Potts, John Morris, and Eric Von Deeten. It was released on November 19th, 1995. And Michael, can you guess the budget for Toy Story?
It must have been a lot, but I mean, the thing is, it's like, so I feel like it must have been quite a bit because it was animation, and at the same time, it was just the first project, and then also there's, what's it called? Inflation. 25 million.
30. No, that's pretty decent guess.
And yeah, the alternative was going to be that I'd go for 35 million. So,
and now the box office.
So either way, it would have been the same difference. A lot. 320 million.
320. The actual box office was 373. So yeah,
not too bad again. Yeah, good. Yeah, still started with the right number, so in the right 100 range. So, but. Apart from that, the more important question and how much money it made is, did you like this film?
Did I like this film? I'm going to say yes, I did like this film, Michael.
I'm going to say yes, I did like this film. But no matter how much we like to film, Luke, we always have nitpicks.
Yes, we do, Michael.
So how many nitpicks do you have?
So for Toy Story, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nitpicks and 1 litpick.
I have 5 nitpicks and no litpicks.
Oh,
so
you go first then.
There was a rule established for this. But yeah, okay.
By the way, Michael, I think
this is one of those.
Sorry, I was just going to say I was listening to our audio of Men in Black recently, and just as an aside, do you know how long you spent on your 6 nitpicks for Men in Black?
8 seconds.
6 minutes, and I spent 4 minutes on mine. So yeah, you just need to be a bit more efficient, pal.
That's not a good start. If Buzz doesn't believe he's a toy, why does he not acknowledge Andy?
Yeah, I had that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Then this one. Okay, this one's a bit of like, so Woody. He's really obsessed with like Andy taking him to Pizza Planet. He's like, oh, will Andy take me to Pizza Planet? And it's ultimately the fact that he may not be taken to Pizza Planet, which is his decision to ultimately push Buzz out the window. But of course, Andy, the cowboy, wouldn't be brought to Pizza Planet. Like, really, his real concern should be like, if Andy ever goes to, Westworld Planet, goes to the old saloon, Tex-Mex restaurant, and he doesn't bring Woody, then Woody's in trouble. If Andy's bringing Buzz to Pizza Planet, that's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Stupid Woody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he's so insecure and so mad that he's just off the edge. But go on, what's your next one?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Okay. Did Andy fall asleep instantly? Because they talk the second he closes his eyes. So this was it's actually after, when Woody and Buzz are already in Sid's house, Andy falls asleep. He's upset, like, I can't find my toy. And then he goes to sleep. It pans over, and immediately the toy's like, I can't breathe. They take it off. They start talking. I'm like, people don't fall asleep that fast. So.
Okay.
And it wasn't even a cut. It panned. So there's no excuse. Woody waits really long to get Sid's attention. I accidentally wrote Andy. That was a bit embarrassing. But basically, so when Sid is counting down, with the match, and he's about to light the rocket, he literally waits until the flame is on the fuse of the rocket, and then he's like, reach for the sky. And he could have said it, at 3, when he was on 3, but no, he waited until the flame was literally on the fuse. And finally, how did they break the duct tape attaching them to the rocket? Buzz is like, oh yeah, we're flying, or we're going up, and then we're just going to let go. And it literally, he's covered in duct tape, and then suddenly he just falls off. There's not even a scene of him tearing off. And I also thought the impression that the film gave was kind of that he couldn't have just torn it off. Like, it was not something that he could have easily done. But the fact that he could have easily done it also makes you think, well, hold on a minute. The whole reason why they didn't originally get the car is because Buzz was stuck because he got his fireworks caught in the fence. And apparently he can just rip it off really easily, as we see at the end. So there we go.
Yeah.
What are your 5, Luke?
Yeah, he wasn't thinking, was he?
4 now, I guess.
So obviously you got the one about Buzz. He doesn't know he's a toy, so why does he let Andy play with him? Maybe all toys in this universe are like programmed automatically to stay still when a human is looking at them. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do get the problem of then Woody not. So obviously it's not. Clearly they can break the programming, but I guess you could say maybe it's like a default setting and they have to be self-aware before they can break it. Maybe that's the explanation.
Maybe. Anyway, so my first one, I'm surprised you didn't get this one, and I just had to say it. How did they not get found out, these toys? What if they're having a meeting when Andy bursts in, like, right at the start?
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a very broad.
I know it is,
but
I was like, I have to mention it. There's no way these toys could exist and act the way they do and not get found out.
Well, every single time somebody comes upstairs, they always announce it. So it's very convenient for them.
They don't even have... I was expecting them to have, like, a lookout on the door, and they don't even have that. So,
exactly,
So, next one. Woody is really the only one who can see that Buzz is deleted. So you got, like, this cliche of the leader being, like, the smartest one, and all of his minions, liking him, but then a new person comes in, like Buzz, and he's actually a fraud, and everyone in this, like, little group, doesn't know he's a fraud, and only the leader can tell. It just seems... like I said, like a cliche, and it's just. I mean, I don't know. Are the rest of the toys just that stupid?
Well, maybe they know, but they're just kind of being. They don't want to be ableist, so they think, well, clearly he's got some kind of mental delusions. He's got some kind of psychosis. We're not going to exclude him for that. We're not going to be mean to him for that. Meanwhile, Woody, the bad guy, is making fun of him for his psychosis. So actually, I think the real nitpick is on Woody for being ableist.
Okay,
and all those other toys deserve a round of applause.
Next up, it's a coincidence one. Sid just happens to be at the Pizza Planet at the same time as Andy.
As I saw that, I was thinking, I bet Luke will bring that up. And yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's fair enough.
Yes, and obviously he also just happens to use the machine to take Buzz and Woody immediately after they fall in as well. Quite a coincidence. So, next one. So this one, I was proud of myself for this one. So Sid is, it's when Sid is burning Woody with the magnifying glass. And his mum calls him downstairs for Pop-Tarts. And so he's rushing downstairs to get the Pop-Tarts. But when Woody goes down there, literally 1 minute later, because obviously the door's open, the dog is asleep on the stairs. So how did Sid rush past and not wake up the dog?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, as we've established already, people go to sleep very quickly in this universe. So maybe that's it.
Okay, and my that is it for my nitpicks. But I do have a lit pick, and I'm going to have to get.
Okay,
and I'm going to have to get up and get this. So give me 1 sec.
Okay, this is exciting. I'll just entertain people while you're up, even though I could cut it. But why would I do that? I will cut it, in fact, because you've been gone for hours now.
Can you hear that?
It sounded like satanic, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's it's kind of a basic bitch thing to own a Toy Story merchandise, because like already, like literally the thing that defines them is that they're toys. So I can't really approve of that, Luke.
Well, look, I had it bought
you should be
for me.
ashamed.
Like, I didn't buy it myself, so you can't judge me for owning it. That's the way I
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Don't you judge me.
So yeah, I still have a Woody toy. I literally was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I still have it, and I went looking around my room, and I realised, oh yeah, I still do have it after all these years. And his voice still just about works. So,
I mean, it's good though. You should be proud.
I know, I should be. So that is my lip pick. There we go.
No, yeah, it kind of sounds a bit like Homer Simpson though. Like, howdy partner, let's all go for frosty chocolate, like 90s Homer Simpson. Yeah, I like it. Thank you for sharing this little bit of your childhood with us, Luke.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're all very grateful.
Yeah, that's it. By the way,
now apart from that, concepts. Do you want to walk us through the plot, Luke?
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you the plot first. So this movie takes place in a world where anthropomorphic toys come to life when humans are not present. Its plot focuses on the relationship between an old-fashioned pull-string cowboy doll named Woody and an astronaut action figure, Buzz Lightyear, as they evolve from rivals competing for the affections of their owner Andy Davis to friends who work together to be reunited with him after being separated.
Woody's mum also had two toys called Wood and Buzzy.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I
was wondering when that joke was going to get brought up.
Yeah, it's a shame I said Wood, Buzz and Woody. But yes,
yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, that's a classic joke. But I just thought, it was. I give my own spin on it by not being able to talk properly. Anyway,
that
the concept,
is a good question, though. Sorry, I was just do sex toys? Are they sentient?
I think actually, you could probably, we're talking about the concept, you could spend a significant amount of time considering, like, what is a toy? Like, okay, here's a question. Are Russian dolls toys? Like, do you know what a Russian doll is?
Yeah. Oh, of course I know what fucking Russian doll is.
Okay, here's the thing, okay. So the thing is, we have several Russian dolls in my house.
Oh, right.
And, like, because of that, like, I wasn't sure if, like, everybody, because obviously a lot of people don't have Russian dolls, so I was kind of thinking,
it's a very common thing? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, are Russian dolls toys? Oh, okay, here's another one. Are, like, the little figurines in Monopoly. Are they toys?
Are they toys? Yes.
Because they're used to play with. And then also, what about, I don't know, probably something else that's ambiguous?
Well, that's the thing. In the new Toy Story 4, I haven't even seen the trailer, but
I haven't seen the trailer.
The new toy is like a fork, I think, or a spoon, and it's called like Forky or Spoony. And it's a toy that this kid has created, and it's become sentient. So there you go.
Oh, I see. All right, that definitely is interesting. So yes, I think we can establish from that it's definitely true that sex toys are in fact sentient in this universe as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes, good.
So this movie, obviously, it's the first Pixar movie, and I think it's the original. Well, it is the original movie in taking the concept of taking something that isn't meant to have anthropomorphic features and stick them in like the real world. And obviously, Pixar has replicated that time and time again after this. This was the first one. And I do think...
Time after time.
That's great. And I do think the concept of toys being alive and sentient, it is fun and entertaining. And you can do a load of interesting things with it, like they do in this movie. Like right from the start, with the toy soldier getting stepped on, and then reporting it to the toys, and then reporting, oh, we've got a lunchbox. And yeah, right from the start of the movie, it was, really, really fun. And they really, I do think it's a great concept, but they also, like, in this movie, extract the maximum out of it with a really good plot and a smart script as well. I do really think like it's a great idea of like the toy not knowing he is a toy and the comedy that can ensue from that. So obviously you have for an example Buzz Lightyear saying his ship's crash landed and he's bouncing on Andy's bed saying the gravity is abnormal or whatever he's saying. I don't think a lesser movie wouldn't have that idea of a toy not knowing he's a toy. It's a really good idea to have with this interesting concept.
Definitely. No, I agree. I mean, I think it is definitely a good example because obviously, you can talk about, I feel like I mentioned this before, we were looking at something else, but you've got, obviously the Emoji Movie is the classic terrible example where you have, again, just, well, what if we took this common thing and gave anthropomorphic features?
Yes.
And then you don't do anything, I mean, first of all, it's kind of a worse premise to begin with, but then you don't even do anything good with the premise. So
exactly.
Is a double whammy.
You're right, the premise of the Emoji Movie is worse, but like, again, they're doing something, they're not doing anything fun with it either, as Dylan pointed out several times.
Yes, exactly.
but this movie, they do a lot of fun stuff with it. Again, like when they go to Sid's house and all the toys are mangled. Yeah, again, it's like another great idea. Like they're all cannibals and stuff, and they're all savages.
Yeah,
I love that idea. So yeah, it's not just a great concept that they the makers of Toy Story came up with. Also, they do a lot of fun things with this concept as well. So yeah, they really knock it out of the park on that.
Yeah, they really did. It was still, they made plenty of other films with a similar concept, Pixar, and this was good evidence of why they were able to excel at that later on. Really good. Yeah,
starting off incredibly strong for Pixar, and I guess we'll get into the actual plot now. So I want to say, like, right from the start, I don't know about you, but the nostalgia was just washing over me. This was, I think, one of my favourite childhood movies, remembering it, and yeah, I couldn't help but like smile right from the start.
This was really enjoyable to watch. Like sometimes we have these films that we watch for this podcast, and I'm just like, don't know how I feel about this. And I'm like kind of not looking forward to watching them. And even like sometimes I've got to be honest, like even sometimes like good films, but like films that aren't going to be that fun. So you're like, I kind of wish I was watching a fun film or a film that would really make me happy. And this film, it does make me happy, and because I'm happy, it makes me feel good. Yeah, no,
I also, I was looking forward to watching this, and obviously the movie, like I said before in the plot, is about the relationship between Buzz and Woody, the journey that both Buzz and Woody go on. So you got Buzz realizing he's not special, he's not this space ranger who's there to save the galaxy, and he's okay with that eventually. And Woody also realizing that it's okay not to be Andy's favorite and not be so insecure about himself, and he's okay with that. So yeah, it's about obviously the journey that these two characters take, and also their relationship. They go from enemies to friends, and so that's what. I often, like I said, I've said before, I do enjoy character journeys and character arcs, and so this is one of the reasons why I really do like this movie.
I agree. I feel like that's kind of getting into a lot of what I've got written down for plot, but like in detail. And I don't know. I think you're ready to move on to kind of like the plot generally.
Yes, let's go on to it.
So. I think I'm going to start with like the small stuff, and then maybe. All right, okay. So this is like the most minor thing, but I was thinking about it. So basically, one of the things at the beginning is that like Rex is not scary, and he's upset about not being scary, and then the film ends with them scaring Sid, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't reincorporate the fact that Rex had the first time we saw him, he was upset about not being scary, and obviously the conflict gets resolved by the toys being scary, and I was thinking, they'll reincorporate, because I couldn't remember. Like, they'll probably reincorporate that, and they didn't, which is fine. But
he's a minor character, so I'm not surprising that they didn't really do that. Yeah.
Yes, I tell you who else was a minor character: the Prospector.
That's great.
I want to talk about this first, which is that one of the things I noticed about this film is that they're actually incredibly lucky that Sid picked them. Like, because most of the whole film is like just a comedy of errors for the beginning. Like, so much goes wrong, and they just end up going like completely way out of the way, which actually I think happens in both these films. You just get like so much going wrong to get them further and further away from where they want to be, and yet at the end of it kind of works out pretty good for them that they end up right next to Sid's house. And I was kind of thinking, like, to be honest, I'm pretty sure that at this point everything should be fine for them. Like, for example, it takes like one of the things I was thinking about is that it takes Woody quite a long time to work out he could try using the window, like, because he's like, we've got to go through the door, and like a lot of the film, so obviously the film, I guess it's pretty much two halves, isn't it? So it's like the first half is dealing with Woody and Buzz not being friends, and also kind of leading up to the point where they get separated completely from the group and get picked up by Sid. And then the second half of the film is obviously them trying to escape from Sid. And in the second half of the film, Woody's like, at first he's like, we got to get through the door somehow, there's got to be a way of sneaking out. And then, suddenly he's just like, hey, what about the window that we have, which literally backs onto Andy's room?
Yeah, I know. It does work out pretty well for them. But again, that's what I kind of covered in my nitpick, though. Like, Sid picked them up. Like, it's... it's one of those things which it doesn't ruin the movie, but it is a coincidence that has to be noted.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, the reason why I kind of bring it on the plot is because it's not just a coincidence, but it's also like one of those things where it's like, the stakes aren't quite as high as they could be, just because realistically you're thinking, I don't think they're in that bad of a situation right now. Which again, I mean, it's a very minor thing, but I was thinking that's pretty much my only negative about the plot. I was just thinking they're not, honestly, they could be in a much worse situation than the situation they're in, because all they got to do is just, I mean, to be honest, we were talking about the concept and like what counts as a toy. Here's the other thing I want to know: how like durable are toys? Because obviously, actually, I think I want to bring it up. So I just said that the stakes aren't very high. I think we should talk about Sid as a villain. I think this is a good segue.
Okay, sure.
So Sid, he kills toys. He straps a soldier to a stick of dynamite, a combat Carl, which I like as a name, to a stick of dynamite or something like that. Probably not dynamite, firecracker. Blows them up. And I guess that means, in other words, this film, like, a toy just dies. Like, we basically see an execution. But then that kind of creates the question of how, because, for example, this is also a universe where a toy can get their head chopped off, replaced with another toy's head, and then still be a living, still be alive. But because, obviously a lot of Andy's things are, a lot of Sid's things are like Frankenstein toys. So apparently toys are quite durable, but not that durable. So, I just thought that was interesting. Mostly because I was thinking, like, could they just jump out the window? They probably wouldn't die, would they? I mean, it's not too bad for them.
This sounds again like a nitpick, Michael. I have to say.
No, I was just thinking about it. Anyway, but okay. And obviously I kind of pivoted into Sid, but what do you think about Sid as a villain, Luke? Do you think he's the best villain ever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about Sid. I did like, by the way, he's got a poster that just says "I love explosives."
It kind of reminds me of, do you remember the Simpsons episode where Lisa dates Nelson?
Yes.
And she goes to his room and he's got like all these things like, one was like nuke the whales. She's like, why do you don't really believe that? He's like, I don't know. You gotta nuke something. But yeah, that's kind of what I imagine Sid being like. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's not that, interesting. I guess actually the kind of funny thing about him is, like, I think a lot of people enjoyed, doing pretty dodgy stuff to their toys. Like, I don't know. At one time I remember I wanted to burn one of my toys at the stake just to see what would happen.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I know, yeah. Well, and the thing is, I mean, the worst thing is it was actually inspired by Toy Story. I was like, oh, wow. Ooh, maybe no, I'm kidding. I was like, ooh, maybe my toys are sentient. No, I was getting quite old at that point. It was at the point where I was no longer really playing with toys, to be fair to me. Yeah, I think Sid, it is kind of an interesting villain, I guess, in that it's actually, I just realized it was a Lego movie where we've spoken about this before, which makes sense. But it's like something which kids, there are kids who can actually do this. So I guess it's kind of it's a grounded concern for the world of toys. Like, you can imagine, if you're a toy and you imagine living in this universe, that would be what your villain would be, somebody who doesn't take care of their toys. So I think I like that part of it, basically.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's I guess he's in there because the Woody and Buzz need to be in a situation where they're desperate. And obviously the place to be, if you're a toy, to be desperate is with a kid who doesn't treat you well. So yeah, that's why he's...
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But I do think we should talk about Woody, Michael.
Yes, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So I wanted to kind of move on to a lot of the stuff that you brought up as like your concepts. That's pretty much all I've got left to talk about now. So yeah. Woody.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh no, well, I figured I've been talking quite a bit, so...
Yeah, no, I mean, his journey is... it's an interesting one. I don't think I've seen it a lot in terms of kids' movies. So about him being like insecure that he's going to get replaced, and like at the start, obviously he's the only one who's not worried, and it turns out he is quite thin-skinned. And
he says nobody is getting replaced.
Yes, and then he does get replaced.
What an idiot!
Yes, and his world is turned upside down. Yeah, and so obviously the point of his journey is the message really is that, hey, it's okay if, I guess, you're not Andy's favourite toy anymore. What matters is you're just bringing him happiness. And that's the thing, like, for these toys, it's a case of they just want to be played with. I think that's
toys just want to have fun.
Yeah, that's the heart of it. So you just want to get played with. It's okay that you're not number one anymore. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's a good message, I think, and not one you see, I think, that often in like kids' movies.
Yeah, would you say that the message of this film is quite platonic in that it argues that that people just need to accept their role in society and not aspire to be greater than the position that they find themselves in?
Well, Michael, I mean, if you've done talking with Woody, that does get into Buzz, which I was going to talk about later.
No, let's see. I just wanted to say, I got the exact same thing. I mean, and it is, like I say, I'll just reiterate, it is really kind of an interesting idea to have that be dealt with. And obviously, I guess because, children are basically idiots and they're really immature and they really get upset if they're not the best at everything or they're not everyone's favourite. So, it's important.
They would have acted like Woody, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They would have pushed kids. In fact, just like in The Babadook, when that girl gets pushed out of the treehouse.
The Babadook Mummy.
You can't. Anyway, yeah. So Buzz. You can also talk about Buzz.
So obviously, Buzz goes on a journey as well. He discovers via a TV commercial that he is a toy. Obviously, he doesn't think he is. As we talked about, that's an interesting concept, and I think it's really well done. And you do feel for him when you realise that he isn't special. He's just another toy.
I will go sailing no more.
Yeah, and then I read about this on the Wikipedia page, but and I also agree there was this shot where Buzz he realizes he can't fly, and it cuts back to him, and he just looks so small, and the guy, I can't remember who said it. It was I think it was one of the producers who said it symbolizes his ego, and he said he loved that shot, and I agree. Yeah, it's really well done how he realizes that he's not special, and he's just like a toy. But this is where we get Michael into. You mentioned it before. What did you say? It was like platonic?
I said it was platonic, yes.
It was platonic. Well, this movie and Toy Story 2, I believe, has a humanist meaning or a humanist message behind it, even though maybe the writers didn't intend that. And I am going to read off an article that I found. Because here's the thing, I was just going to read the article, but it was so good and I agreed with so much of it that I'm just going to read parts of it. It's from Lucia Hall, and this was written in the year 2000, Michael.
Going back to the year 2000.
So, Buzz must admit, so this is the article, by the way. I really copied and pasted this really wrong. Buzz must admit he's a mechanism, a material object, a toy. Then, obviously, after he realizes it, he tries to prove he can fly. He's like, no, I am special. I can do this. And then he falls, and obviously you got the music in the background, and it's funny and sad at the same time, executed wonderfully. But the humanist meaning behind this, Michael, he believes he had infinity and beyond in his grasp, and that is a metaphor for all this and heaven too, which apparently is a line from the Bible. Is that correct? I mean, I don't know if you know specific lines from the Bible.
I kind of recognise. I think it might be okay. So my guess is that it's something God says to Abraham. But by guessing that, I'll make myself look even more stupid if I'm wrong.
So Buzz feels nothing. He feels absolutely worthless, as if he's no help to anybody. If he can't be a space ranger, he can't be anything meaningful. And in his despair, he gives up completely. He says, Andy's house, Sid house, what's the difference? He's playing Mrs. Nesbit in a tea party, which again is a funny moment, and he's acting drunk and wearing an apron and a hat. It's funny, but yeah. So this is the analogy, Michael, and maybe you'll disagree.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, no, I think I kind of get where you're going with this, and I have my own thoughts on it. So go, tell me your stupid opinion.
So if someone who believes in God,
yes,
like Buzz kind of did, that's the analogy. If the atheists in this situation are right, like Woody, he's right, what difference does it make in terms of what material circumstances the believer finds himself in? If it has to do with the material world, it is all vanity, worthless, purposeless, and valueless. Without heaven and God.
That's kind of. I think that's a reference to Ecclesiastes, by the way.
Right.
So there we go.
Well, there you go. Without heaven and God, life is meaningless. What does it matter where you end up? Even as a toy, however, Buzz, in fact, has worth and meaning, just as human beings have worth and meaning, even if they are nothing but material objects. Saving the poor, tortured toys in Sid's room has meaning, just as working to make the material world a better place has meaning. Going back to Andy has meaning and value, even if there isn't a heaven or star command. Also, the falling with style has meaning, even if it isn't flying. Loyalty has meaning. Understanding has meaning. Honesty has meaning. And so Buzz courageously accepts his lot and even makes good use of his life, saving the day in the terms of the material, scientific, and humanistic universe in which he now realizes he has been in all along.
So there's like a whole thing. So the term, I was going to try and say the number of letters the term has, but existential crisis. So so people, and obviously there's loads of examples of this, but I mean a classic example might be that you realize, say that or believe that we'll die and that the universe will cease to exist, and even if the universe, even ignoring that, I mean you will cease to exist, and all of your memories will be gone. And the question then becomes, what is the ultimate point in it? And I think it's something also addressed by Toy Story 2, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But the question of like, what is the ultimate point? And then obviously I think in Toy Story 2, it's more of a temporal thing. In this, it's kind of more of a essential thing about like, if I'm not part of the Space Command, if I'm just a toy, then it's meaningless. And I guess also there's the element of perspective to it, because it's like, you could say, I'm just a toy, and if that's what you believe, then that's kind of what the truth is for you. But if you say, hey, and obviously Woody has this, the really great speech. He says something like, you're somebody who makes a child happy, and that's way better than being a space ranger.
Yeah. That's really
so
emotional moment. That
that's a top moment, top draw. And I guess, you could say, so that's kind of the way that you might approach an existential crisis by saying, if you look at something like, well, it's just, temporary or something like that. And then obviously someone else might, with a different perspective, say, hey, well, because it's temporary, that's what gives it meaning, because, things like that. And yeah, so I think that's the general sense. And I guess, you could say there is a dimension of like, it could parallel religious ideas. I don't necessarily think it needs to, because you could kind of substitute anything in there. Like, for example, having huge amounts of wealth. So obviously, I'm not against the use of the religious analogy, because I think it's a perfectly fine model. I would say that, I'm so tolerant. But I think that you can also substitute and put other things in there as well. Which might, so basically I'm saying this is kind of universally applicable, because we all have a kind of that classic episode of Game of Thrones where Littlefinger says that
chaos is a ladder.
Yeah, but before that he says the realm is a lie we tell ourselves. So he's basically saying that power is a lie that we tell ourselves. In other words, he's saying that, because we believe somebody has power, that causes it to be the case. And I think that's kind of, true for a lot of things. And so basically the lie that Buzz tells himself is, of course, that he's this powerful space ranger. And when that lie comes crumbling down, he is upset. But what he realizes is that he just needs to tell himself another lie, which is that ultimately the important thing is being loved by a child.
Well, that's yes. Okay. Right. That's not the message, Michael.
I agree. It's really good.
The answer, I think, to existential crisis.
Yeah, but what about the answer?
Well, the answer to existential crisis is humanism. I think that is, I guess, I mentioned before, I'm not sure the writers intended it to be as such, but I think obviously you can look at this movie with that perspective, certainly concerning Buzz, that even though you may not feel special, it's okay, because your life still has meaning. And you can still, like you say, because it's temporary, that makes it even more valuable, makes it even more meaningful. That is essentially Buzz and the message that he brings to the table. Again, we're talking about, obviously, this in a fucking kids movie. I think we need to point that out. That's why it's such a good movie. Because not only is it a great concept, and they do really interesting things with the concept, it also, has got us talking about like themes about humanism and existential crisis with fucking toys, and it's the same with Toy Story 2, which we'll obviously get onto later.
Yes,
I just want to talk about the end sequence, Michael.
Good. Yeah, that works.
So I do think, like, in the ending, it's one of the best endings. Maybe it's just my nostalgia kicking in, but I really do think it's one of the best endings I've seen, like in a movie, because it just fits all so perfectly together. So obviously Woody gets together all the broken toys to save Buzz from Sid. Sid's gonna rocket ship Buzz up into the air and blow him up. And the sequence getting out of the house, a bit unbelievable how perfectly it goes. But considering the movie is about sentient toys, I'll allow it. It's
very gracious of you, Luke.
Yeah, thank you. And I like how Woody also chooses not just to rescue Buzz, but to also scar Sid for life as well. That kid,
yes.
I'll talk about this a bit later, but that kid doesn't have that good a home life, and now he's going to be fucked up as well for the rest of his years.
Natural born life.
Yeah, so let's just forget about that though. So Buzz and Woody trying to catch the car. But they can't, and I just really love this next bit. They hop on the truck, Woody opens up the hatch to save Buzz from the dog, and all the toys obviously think Woody is killing the toy car. I can't remember what the car's called.
RC.
RC, right. Rex says
it's impossible to know what that stands for.
Yes. Rex says he's at it again. I just love that line. It's a funny moment. And obviously Woody gets his redemption when all the toys look and see he's saving Buzz. And Obviously, after that, all the car batteries run out, so all hope is lost. But they do manage to get back to the truck because they managed to incorporate the rocket back into the rescue. And it all makes sense, as obviously Sid was going to blow the toys up, and actually it turns out that rocket does have some use in the end, and it all works together so well. Like, they really thought about this ending and how it was going to go. And they return to the truck, or go past the truck in like the most heroic way possible, zooming past all the cars. Buzz gets his redemption, uses his wings to rescue them and fly, saving them both and being the hero. The falling with style line, and Woody shouts to infinity and beyond, and it's perfectly wrapped up when they fall in the car and Andy finds them. What's that Homer Simpson line? Like, everything is wrapped up in a nice little package.
Oh, everything is wrapped up in a nice little package there.
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel about that last ending sequence. It really all works together so well, and I love it.
I think you pretty much covered everything, and I agree. It's so good. I mean, this film, it is really well constructed with like how everything comes in, and like the payoffs for just the character arcs, and also the payoff for the plot in general, and how like so many different things are incorporated, like the rocket and the match, and even I guess you could say the idea of a magnet. Like it's so detailed that even the idea of a magnifying glass being used to produce burning has a setup. That's how
it has a setup and a payoff. Yeah, even that, like every single detail is just taken care of, and that's why I
really worry about like the minds of the people who come up with this stuff, because their minds clearly don't work like normal human being minds. There's clearly something deeply wrong with them.
I was reading about this on the Wikipedia page, and apparently they like had to rewrite the script a bunch of times. Like, it wasn't a nice, easy process.
I heard that.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in the comedy actually as well, talk about the process of making it. But yeah, I just want to talk about one more thing on the plot. The things going in the background concerning the humans. So I think I heard this, and it makes sense. Like, Andy's mum is going through a divorce, so that's why she's leaving house.
Sid's mum? Andy's mum.
Yeah, Andy's mum. Yeah. And obviously Sid is a bad kid who gets kicked out of summer camp, but he has a bad home life. His dad, obviously, when Buzz walks into the room where the TV is playing his ad for Buzz Lightyear, his dad's sitting there. He's got a beer, in a dark room. So yeah, clearly his dad doesn't care about Sid. He's just sitting in the house watching TV. So it's like, even.
So what you're saying is that Sid is a relatable villain, just like Killmonger.
Sid is so much like Killmonger. No, yeah, it's just like, it's just going on in the background, and obviously the kids won't notice and care, but like for us, I don't know if you noticed that as well. Maybe.
I did. I did.
Maybe you heard about it before as well, but yeah, it's something like again, it's just such a smart movie, and so intelligent. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that as well.
The characters, human beings.
Yeah, stuff going on in the background. Yeah, I really like it as well.
I think that's kind of like covered everything pretty much. I mean, you've got so Woody starts off, he's upset with, first of all, he's really confident, everyone loves him, he's the man with the plan, and obviously Buzz comes in, he gets jealous, then they end up getting separated, and then they come back, and then the second half of the film is like this big jailbreak thing where they're in Sid's house, and then Buzz and Woody reconcile. Buzz has his existential crisis, and then it all culminates in this just fantastic ending, and it's just so well constructed. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to say about that.
Yeah. So here's the thing with this.
We could talk about it probably for a bit longer, but yeah.
Yeah, we've got a bit of stuff to get onto, but like we said, it's great concept, great plot, great characters and themes. And on top of that, this movie is really funny. I think the comedy is really good. Again, it's just a great script. Like, they're ticking literally every box with this movie, and they'll tick some more boxes as well, the animation. But on the comedy, obviously the bit I mentioned at the start with the toy soldiers, when I also like when Woody shouts, "Shut up, you zealots," to the aliens. I like that line.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Buzz saying, "I don't believe that man has ever been to medical school." When Sid's organising on it. Yeah, like every line just... those are the ones I picked out. Well, every line is just oh, you got some?
I picked... Okay, yeah, so I think I picked out 2 lines. And then I actually do... Okay, I do have one lame joke. I'll say the lame joke. No, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a joke sandwich.
Okay.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say because there's preschool toys present. That kind of made me laugh.
Yep.
And then a couple of blocks away, I thought was kind of a lame joke. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's so lame, but it was a lame joke where Bo Peep says, "I'm just a couple of blocks away," and then it cuts to some actual blocks between them. Yeah, a bit lame. But, and then for some reason, I mean, this wasn't clever at all, but the shark going, "I'm Woody, howdy, howdy, howdy," made me laugh. In general, though, I would say, I didn't find this film. Also, I did like the aliens. I would say this film is one of those films where it's kind of like the humor's like subtle, but in a way where it's like, because obviously you can have subtle humor that's hilarious. I would say this humor is kind of subtle and its impact is quite subtle. Like, I wouldn't say watch this film for the comedy, and I would hesitate to call this film a comedy, because I would say like a comedy is where the jokes are a big part of the film, whereas I think this is more like kind of funny in the way that a lot of fun children's films are, and like also fun action adventure films. It's kind of like, I mean, for me, like I didn't consider it to be like say The Simpsons or something where the point is it's supposed to be funny. I thought it was more like, the animators were sort of, all the script writers and stuff, they were sort of having fun while making it, so they threw a few little funny lines in there. But yeah, so I was kind of, something I wrote down actually, I said the film is more fun than funny. But I think you slightly actually preferred, which is a rare one. I think you might have preferred the humor to more than I did. I still really like the humor, but I don't know, because I mean, obviously the stereotype is that I find everything funny. But no, yeah, and I still did find it funny, but I think you might have found it more genuinely funny than me.
Yeah.
I found it kind of just enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I just find, like, I was just watching and I was like, damn, every line is just so funny and smart. Like, I just thought this script was amazing. I was surprised at how good it was. Obviously, I watched it when I was a kid. All the characters in Andy's room, like all the lines that Rex says, and Mr. Potato Head as well. It's all like, every line is just really, really good. And yeah, I guess I like it more than you. But also, this has to be mentioned because of how fun and smart it is. It is the epitome of a movie that both parents and kids can enjoy. So obviously the parents can laugh at all the one-liners, and there are many good ones, while the kids can enjoy the action. I do think, it's the funny moments do come at you constantly, and that's why I did like it. But here's the thing, Michael. I just want to talk, if you'll let me, about...
I won't.
about the fact that obviously this is a movie that both parents and kids can enjoy, like I said. That almost cost Pixar and Disney. So basically, at the presentation by Pixar... why did I say it like that? Pixar. Just Pixar.
I don't know, yeah. Maybe you were trying to channel some West Country. Pixar.
Yeah. So Katzenberg, who is, I think, the co-chairman of Disney at the time...
Also, Katzenberg apparently is a real dickhead.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why, but I just heard he was.
This would explain it, this story I'm going to tell. Katzenberg would tear much of it up, giving out detailed comments and notes. Katzenberg's big push was to add more edginess to the two main characters. Disney wanted the film to appeal to both children and adults, like it said, and asked for adult references to be added into the film, and there was quite a lot of those, but after many rounds of notes from Katzenberg and other Disney executives, the general consensus was that Woody had been stripped of almost all his charm. Tom Hanks, while recording the dialogue for the story reels, exclaimed at one point that the character was a jerk. Lasseter, who of course directed it, and his Pixar team had the first half of the movie ready to screen, so they brought it down to Burbank to show Katzenberg and other Disney executives on November 19th, 1993, an event they later dubbed the Black Friday Incident. The results were disastrous, and Schneider, I don't know who that is, but he was never particularly enamoured of Katzenberg's idea of having outsiders make animation for Disney, declared it a mess, and ordered that production be stopped immediately. So basically, this guy Katzenberg, it sounds like he came in, gave a bunch of notes, fucked it up, and then...
classic studio executive.
Yeah, everyone got mad at Pixar. So Lasseter was embarrassed with what was on the screen, later recalling it was a story filled with the most unhappy, mean characters that I've ever seen. The script was reworked, and the Pixar team came back with a new script 3 months later, with the character of Woody morphed from being a tyrannical boss of Andy's other toys to being a wise and caring leader. It also included a more adult-oriented staff meeting amongst the toys rather than the juvenile group discussion that had existed in earlier drafts. So there you go. This movie was nearly cancelled just because Disney were so insistent of making it edgy and appeal to adults, which is kind of
that's kind of crazy. Yeah,
it's kind of the opposite of what it is. Disney is like now. I feel like they don't want to stray into that area a lot. Oh, that's the impression I get with a lot of Disney products. Anyway,
I think maybe because they got that Best Picture nom for Beauty and the Beast, which was in the early 90s, right?
Yes.
I think there was a period where Disney was like wanting to get like a Best Picture or get like a lot more kind of credibility as like making arty films. Like they wanted to be like the people who make like intelligent films. And I guess they now I know like, oh well, intelligent, that means grown up. So maybe that's why that's the best explanation I can come up with.
Yeah. So anyway, Katzenberg, this co-chairman of Disney, this movie executive, nearly fucked the whole thing up. So yeah,
that's funny.
Like you said, movie executives, can't trust them. Now we got to get onto the animation, Michael. So this is very important. This is the first ever computer animated film, a momentous occasion. So yeah, what do you have to say on the animation?
It's really not bad. I guess, okay, so the one thing we should point out is that it was very clever of them to use toys mostly, because toys don't have to look too real.
Yes, that's a good point.
So that was a very clever decision there. And I think, like, when you take that into account, I mean, obviously the thing is, it's not photorealistic, of course.
Yes.
But, like, it doesn't have to be. So
no, you're right.
I think, yeah, so but the thing is, the animation was functional. I guess the one thing that could be said, and obviously because sometimes, I mean, like say, a lot of the animated films, I feel like I mentioned this for another animated film we did. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Aladdin, but we for a lot of other animated films we've looked at, I have said, the animation's very good looking. It's very artistic. Obviously in this, the animation is not artistic. It is just functional, but that's all it has to be. And also, I guess the other thing that should be said is that I was thinking to myself, you couldn't really make this film half as good, like anything like as good. It would be very weird if you tried to make the film with live action. Like, I mean, you'd have to. I mean, the only way I can think of it is you'd have.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, when I say live action, the closest you could get, I think, to making it work would be stop motion or something like that. But like at the end of the day, that would have been terrible because they wouldn't have been able to express or anything. So basically, this film had to be made with this kind of style of animation. So I
agree. I think it is perfect. I just want to give a bit of background on the animation. So Ed Catmull and fellow Pixar co-founder Alvy Ray Smith wanted to produce a computer animated feature for a long time, but only in the early 90s were the computers cheap enough and powerful enough to make this possible. Recruiting animators for Toy Story was brisk, so the magnet of talent was not the pay, which was generally mediocre, but rather the allure of taking part in the first computer animated feature. And basically there's a load of information on Wikipedia about the animation and the detail that they went through making it, and obviously you can go on Wikipedia if you want more info on that. Also, it had a large impact on the film industry with its innovative computer animation. After Toy Story's debut, various industries were interested in the technology used for the film. Graphics chip makers desired to compute imagery similar to the film's animation for personal computers. Game developers wanted to learn how to replicate the animation for video games, and robotic researchers were interested in building artificial intelligence into their machines that compared to the film's lifelike characters. So not only did it impact movies, it impacted a whole range of entertainment as well.
Oh wow, that's crazy! Yeah,
no,
that's good.
Yeah, so really impactful. You want to talk about the soundtrack now, Michael?
So I mean, it's such a kind of like, because it's got Randy Newman, and he's got such a distinctive voice and a way of singing that it's kind of like it makes, I think it really helps this film stand out. And obviously, so I mean that's the first thing, but the other thing we should say, of course, that the music is generally pretty good, especially, and I might be I won't steal your thunder here because it was going to be your lit pick, so you can talk about it, Luke.
Oh, you're going to let me talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh shit, my mic's falling. Where are we? Sorry.
I give you one job. I throw you a bone.
Yeah, so You Got a Friend in Me. It's such a great song, man. I still remember it from when I was a kid. Like, the movie starts off with it and then plays it at the end. And yeah, it's just it's a perfect song for the relationship between a kid and his toy. It really is. I believe this movie actually won an Academy Award for Best Original Score and Best Original Song for You've Got a Friend in Me. So there you go. The music in this movie was really, really good, and obviously the song You've Got a Friend in Me, I really do like that song, and yeah, I think it thoroughly deserved the Best Original Song, even though I don't know what songs it was competing against that year, but yeah, it deserved it.
Yeah, they can't have been as good.
No.
It's impossible. I'll eat my hat if they're as good.
Well, yeah, actually, we'll get onto that with the next song in the next movie. I've got some thoughts on that. But anyway, so yeah, that's the soundtrack. Extremely good and well deserved of its 2 Oscars. And yeah, I think it's time, Michael, to just talk about the legacy of Toy Story.
Yeah.
That's okay with you?
It's good, yeah.
So obviously,
I'll let you.
This movie is incredibly innovative because of its animation. In 2003, the Online Film Critics Society ranked the film as the greatest animated feature of all time. And in 2007, the Visual Effects Society named the film 22nd on its list of top 50 most influential visual effects films of all time. So yeah, just to put in perspective how crucial this movie was for visual effects. And in 2005, 10 years after its theatrical release, the film was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the United States Library of Congress. And it is only one of only 6 films, there we go, to be selected in its first year of eligibility. So there you go.
Oh yeah, wow.
Only one of 6. So yeah, that is its legacy. It still, it had a massive effect on visual effects, as we've said, and it's, had a massive effect on animation in general and on the larger culture, as it obviously has been put into the National Film Registry. So yeah, its legacy is incredibly important, and it's one of the most important movies of recent times. I don't know if 24 years is recent, but yeah, certainly an incredibly important movie.
Yeah, 100%, yes. But yeah, so I think now we should wrap up. So, do you want to wrap up first?
Yeah, no, well, actually, I think you should, because I've been talking for a bit.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, actually, yeah, okay. So, this film, I finally did it, Luke, by the way. I picked where, actually, you know what I did? I finally did it. I picked where I wanted it to go, and now I'm doubting myself, so, I'm probably going to do exactly what I predicted I would do, which is move it after the fact. It's a really good film. It's a really fun film. It's so well constructed in every single way. I think the one thing you could possibly say is you could say, well, you know, there's lots of different things, there's lots of different boxes a film can tick, and you can say, well, it's not very kind of artistic. But then having said that, if you look at it in context of it being such an important animated film or such an important film in the history of animation, then I think with that added context, you can kind of say, well, that in itself is a big reason to kind of, you know, give the animation credit. So even though you might not say, well, the animation is not mind-blowingly artistic, you can say, well, the animation was groundbreaking in historical context. So I think with that said, I'm going to rate this above. Oh, I mean, I could put it in all sorts of places, but I'm going to go for above Iron Man, below Manchester. No. Above Manchester by the Sea. Below Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 9, by the way, so that makes it a 9.
Okay.
Out of 10.
So I'm going to praise this movie a bit more than you. Not praise it, I'm going to rank it higher. So I think this movie, Toy Story, is the definition of the word classic. You combine a really interesting and fun concept like toys being alive with a great script, a really good plot, funny characters, interesting and thoughtful themes, perfect voice actors, which we need to mention as well. Tom Hanks does a great job as Woody, makes it incredibly believable. You got a heart and soul as well. Great innovative animation.
Yeah. Leave, Luke.
And so you take all these things and you mix it all together and you get just such a really special movie. This has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for a reason.
I never knew that. Yeah, that makes sense then.
And I think it is the best animated movie of all time. It's iconic, and obviously it's a close movie to me, for me as well. And I think this movie generally is just flawless. I really don't... I can't pick at anything. And so, Michael, I'm going to give this...
a 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5. And the only reason...
I thought you were going to give it a 10 because you said it was flawless, but no, yeah, what's your only reason, Luke? Tell me. Tell me why you hate this film.
The thing is, I don't want to give it a 10 because...
I get you.
I just think that for me to give something a 10, it has to be like life-changing. And again, this movie isn't life-changing. Like it's flawless. It's really good, but I just can't give it that. I mean, 9.5, that makes it like my top 2 movies, in my top 2 movies of all the time we've been doing this. So yeah, it is pretty high. 9.5 out of 10 for me for Toy Story. Yeah,
I agree with you about that. Anyway, so now I think we should move on a bit swiftly to Toys Story 2.
Yes, Toy Story 2.
Or as I call it, Two-Story Toy.
Why?
I just thought it would be fun and quirky. Anyway, I guess I'll say, no, I don't know. I guess I'll say why we're doing it. Obviously, that's already been established. Yeah. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Toy Story 2?
I will tell you a thing about Toy Story 2, Michael, because I'm clicking on the Wikipedia page right now. Here we go. So,
oh yeah, of course you are.
Toy Story 2 is in 1999, so 20 years old, actually. So yeah, 20-year anniversary of this movie. It is an American computer animated comedy film directed by John Lasseter and produced by Pixar Animation Studios for Walt Disney Pictures. And obviously it's the sequel to 1995's Toy Story and the second film in the Toy Story franchise.
The Toy Story cinematic universe.
Yes. Interestingly, on the starring, it literally just says Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. That's it. There's no more...
Shade.
Yeah, no more. It was released on... I should probably say the screenplay is by Andrew Stanton, Rita Hasayo, Doug Chamberlain, and Chris Webb. Chris Webb, Amazing Spider-Man director.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Amazing... Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's Yeah, he didn't live up to the heights of this movie with those two
Yes.
movies. Released on November the 13th, 1999. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Toy Story 2?
So last time it was like 30. It was 30, wasn't it? So I don't think they would have given that much more. I really want to say like just 45.
90.
Bloody hell.
They poured a lot of money into this.
Yeah, that makes
90
sense.
million.
Yeah.
I guess inflation and it being 4 years later, maybe it's not that much of an increase.
No, yeah, but
treble the budget. Anyway, the box office.
a lot. I can't remember what you said last time. Last time you said like 370 something, I think. So I'm gonna go for 578.
Wow. Thank you for saying 8 at the end there. Really makes a
yeah.
difference. Box office was 497.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so not actually that much, but again, like a massive success. I thought you were going to get it exactly right, or almost exactly right. I thought you were just going to say 500 million. But you failed me.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, no, it's so disappointing actually. But yeah. So okay, yeah, they didn't. So really, they spent 3 times as much. They didn't make 3 times the amount of money back. So that's a loss. Explains why it took them like 1 billion years to make Toy Story 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it works in the movie industry, right? People don't
exactly.
care about box office income; they just care about profit margins, but percentage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Percentage.
Yes,
of profit.
exactly. They don't care that it made hundreds of millions more. They're just like, it didn't make as much of a percentage, so we're angry. Anyway, but the important question is, Luke, did you like this film?
Did I like this film? I did like this film. Yes, unsurprisingly, yes.
I also liked this film. I really liked it. So, but no matter how
really?
much we like the film, we always have nitpicks, don't we, Luke?
Yes, we do, and I have 3.
I don't have any nitpicks.
Wow.
I can't believe it. Like, it's so crazy to me. Okay, I'll tell you what, here's the thing. I brought this up. I had one nitpick, which then was immediately, I wrote it down. I paused the thing, because basically it was reaching the end. I was like, I don't have any nitpicks. I'd watched it twice at this point, obviously. So I'd watched it twice. I hadn't got any nitpicks. And I was like, oh, I'll write it down. And it was, what I wrote down was, I like how them getting home from the airport is just an afterthought. Like, as in, it doesn't really explain it. And then I was like, I paused it, unpaused it, and I was like, oh wait, there's the baggage thing. So literally the one thing I wrote down as a nitpick was immediately de-nitpickified by the film. But I do have a nitpick, did I mention that?
Oh, no, you didn't. Okay, so
Okay,
do you want to tell us
you
your
do your...
nitpick?
Okay. Alright, so my nitpick is the guy cleaning the toy. It's, have you ever seen, there's a video on YouTube, it's like, I don't know what it's exactly what the term is, so it's like the guy cleans Woody, no music, and it's like an ASMR thing, and you can just, it's so satisfying, you just see like this guy cleaning this toy, and it's just, I don't know, the sign just hits the spot, doesn't it, Luke? Just, it's so nice.
Okay, I'll have to check that
When
video
you just
out.
see him like sewing it together, he goes like multiple levels with the eyeglass, and I don't know, it's just such a satisfying scene.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, what are your 3 nitpicks? Because I feel like I must have missed them, but I don't know, something was off with me.
Well, okay, so 2 of them I can forgive you for not getting. There is one though that you should have got, because it was a pretty easy nitpick. Okay, so my first one is kind of the same as last time. Like, how are these toys not getting caught? I mean,
that's fair enough.
Yeah, like I was thinking, should I put it in for this one? And I'm like, yeah, I'll put it in. Why not? Like, again,
because you hate this film.
yeah, it's again these toys, man. They would get found out so easily in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, next one. This is the proper nitpick, which you should have got, by the way. So it's when they come out of the apartment of Rafa Benitez's apartment, and basically,
Yes, yeah, good one.
Do you know who that is, by the way? Rafa Benitez.
No, yeah, he's a former Liverpool. Liverpool then Chelsea?
Yes,
Is that right?
Yeah,
and then he moved on to something else.
And now he's Newcastle.
Well, I remember because when I first kind of got into football, he was doing Liverpool. And then I think he moved on to Chelsea. And so Newcastle now.
Yeah, Newcastle.
I think I remember, and Newcastle has been relegated, and he was managing Newcastle when they got relegated.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There we go. Yeah, so
But
it's almost like I've watched football.
He brought them back up though, and
What? So they back up now?
yeah, they've been up 2 seasons now, I think. So yeah.
Oh, that's embarrassing. I've literally, you know what, Luke? I have been watching them play football in the match of the day. I'm just not acknowledged it. That's my thing about football, though. Like, I actually watch it much more than my knowledge of it would imply. I'm just really bad at remembering things. So people can literally be like, I can literally forget that Newcastle have been in the league for the last 2 years. Anyway,
Yes.
Rafa Benitez.
So yeah,
he does look like Rafa Benitez.
Rafa Benitez. So the toys are coming out of Rafa Benitez's apartment, and they're wondering how they're going to catch him up and get to the airport. And there just happens to be right in front of them an empty Pizza Planet truck, which has the keys in, and they can all just drive to the airport quite easily. So yeah,
Pizza anyone? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a perfectly fair thing. I think it would have been much better if because it would have been less convenient if they would have had to actually go to the effort of hijacking a car.
I see. Yes.
Especially if it was Sid again, who just can't catch a break. He's like, because he was slightly old in the other one, so maybe he's got a bit older now, and he's like, oh, I finally, I don't know, they can drive at like 16 in America.
Yes, they can. Yes.
So he'd be like, oh, I'm finally old enough to start driving. I'm glad I put torturing toys behind me after that horrible dream I had. I took a lot of therapy to get over the post-traumatic stress disorder, but I finally put it behind me, and then he suddenly just gets dragged over by these toys. Brilliant.
God.
Anyway.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right though. I could have got that.
Yeah. There is my next nitpick, so this is quite a cynical one. Maybe you won't agree. There is kind of a marketing like stench around this movie, from the Barbies to the video games and Zurg to the Jessie character as well. I mean, you could argue, well, she's part of the plot, but I'm like, she's also there to sell toys. They do seem like elements are added because of money. Maybe I am being too cynical, I don't know, but it did seem like, okay, they're really, it didn't seem like that was the case in the original Toy Story. They weren't there selling toys, but in this one, yeah, obviously, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. I think, like, obviously, I think the excuse, quote unquote excuse, would be people say, well, it's like that because that's what the plot is about. The plot's about this wider expanded universe. But then I guess you could say, well, hold on a minute, the plot's like that because, because they wanted to sell toys, so it's kind of like a chicken egg thing.
Well, they didn't need to add the Zurg in and the video game thing in. And
I know, I loved it.
Yeah, they definitely made a bunch of money off the video game because I saw they did release a video game titled whatever the video game in the movie was titled, and obviously,
that's going to be good for our Let's Play channel.
And obviously, Zurg. I remember when I was younger, I did have a Zurg character along with Woody and Buzz. So I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, I do. They produced those toys as well.
Woody's mum also has a toy called Zurg.
Well, what does that toy do, Michael?
It's like it makes you it's like a really intense orgasm, which causes you to say Zurg, which is, I imagine, what somebody would say if they were having a really intense orgasm. They go Zurg.
Okay. Anyway,
that's good.
Yes.
Anyway, apart from that, plot.
So I'll just mention the plot to kick us off. So, Toy Story 2. In the film, Woody is stolen by a toy collector, prompting Buzz Lightyear and his friends, I loved how you gasped then, to vow to rescue him. But Woody is then tempted by the idea of immortality in a museum. And obviously, shit goes down after that. But yeah. By the way, this initially, I'm just reading, was going to be a direct-to-video sequel. Thank God they didn't go in that direction.
Yeah, that would have been embarrassing. Then it automatically would have been bad.
Too many of Pixar's staff were working on A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life nearly sacrificed Toy Story 2. Yeah.
Hey Luke, do you remember when you'd put a video into your cassette and the person before you hadn't rewound it back to the beginning?
Those were the days.
Yeah, I miss that. Anyway, so plot. I want to say, I mean, you say that it's like there's a cynical aspect to it, but I did want to say I kind of enjoyed the little Zurg intro. I thought it was like a fun little thing because it was like, a nice little reintroduction to the story where you got Buzz running along. You're like, oh, what's happening here? Why is he running around? Why does it look like he's kind of being a serious spaceman? And then obviously he gets shot, and it's quite funny because he's like, I don't know, I think he's like right in the middle. It's like a moment where you wouldn't expect him to be shot. He's like, I'll get you, Zurg, or something like that, and then he gets shot. It's quite funny. And then obviously you find out it's a video game. So I like that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is that obviously the main villain in this, well, there's two villains, aren't there? But we'll talk about villain number one, which is Al. And the fun thing is that there's foreshadowing with Al's Toy Barn, isn't there, Luke? In the first film, because when he watches the Buzz Lightyear program, it says available in Al's Toy Barn or wherever toys are sold. And obviously in this, the main villain is Al of Al's Toy Barn. Mm-hmm. And I guess so. We'll compartmentalize things a bit. So basically, 4 reasons Woody ends up being bought by Al. And Al, he steals, doesn't he, Luke? So I think that was kind of satisfying because I struggle not to feel a bit sorry for Al at the end where he's like crying and because he had a good thing going. He was about to get like thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, he was about to get, I think, minimum $50,000 from that.
Yeah, exactly. And
the thing is, he like obviously
and 50,000 was worth a lot then.
Yeah, he's meant to be the villain, but like he doesn't know that toys are real.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, he does steal, a family heirloom from people. So
Yeah, but
I mean, that's not very good because
you
I guess
gotta-
it's kind of priceless.
you got to spend money to make money, Michael. You know what they say.
That's true. Yeah, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, as the kids say. Which I guess, to be honest, actually, if you could argue, if anything, his punishment's kind of lenient, since basically he did steal something from somebody, and the only consequence was that he didn't get the massive amounts of money he could have got. I guess you could also say that he spent money on shipping, and he did say that was a very, he did imply that was very extortionate. But
And then
apart from that,
he
yeah.
produces a fucking shit advert as well. Why would you?
Yes.
Why would you put that on TV? Are you just crying?
It's like in the Simpsons episode where they make the advert for working at the nuclear power plant, and none of them can remember their lines, and it's really bad. Anyway, so yeah, I guess, I mean, anything else to say about kind of that whole thing with Al's toy barn and Al as a character?
Again, no. Like he's just there to kind of
Yeah.
like Sid to get into the wider theme.
Yes,
talked
he's
about
not
in
as
this movie.
actively antagonistic though, obviously.
No, yeah, he's not. No, but yeah, he's just there as a device. And obviously, the big question that this movie poses, Michael, is I don't know if it's a question really, but
I think you're going exactly where I was going,
yes,
Luke.
what
The
happened?
toys don't last forever.
No, toys do not last forever. It's quite morbid if you think about it, like in a kids' movie,
Yeah.
like talking about toys dying or whatever. So yeah, this idea, obviously, what this movie explores is whether toys should be a collector's item or a child's plaything, as Buzz shouts at Woody in a nice reversal of the first movie.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
John Lasseter, who of course is the director, stated that Toy Story 2 is based on his own experience. He said, "I'm a big toy collector. I have a lot of them. They're like antiques or one-of-a-kind toys or prototypes that toy makers have given me. Well, I have 5 sons, and when they were little and they'd love to come to Daddy's work and come to Daddy's office and they just want to touch and play with everything. And I was sitting there saying, oh no, you can't play with that one. Oh no, play with this one. Oh no."
Hold a minute, Luke. You're describing the Lego movie. Sorry, you got confused. You accidentally started reading the plots of the Lego movie.
Yeah, I wonder if John Lasseter was on that, maybe. Anyway,
Yeah.
And he says, "I found myself just sitting there looking at myself and laughing because toys are manufactured, put on this earth to be played with by a child. That is the core essence of Toy Story, and so I started wondering, what was it like from a toy's point of view to be collected?" So Woody obviously has to deal with the fact that Andy will abandon him and, has to figure out whether the toy museum is the better choice for him. And that is the central dilemma of the movie.
Yeah, I think it's a really good dilemma because
Yes.
here's the thing about Toy Story 1. It's very good, obviously, but in some way you could argue that Buzz's problem is kind of, I guess you could say, obvious in that, like, his whole thing is based on this presumption, this false belief that he's a space ranger,
Yes.
and then obviously he finds out he's not, and then he kind of just has to deal with the fact that being a toy is better. But in this situation, Woody has a reasonable dilemma, because being, like, the thing is, being part of that museum, I mean, it sounds pretty good when you think about it, because if you imagine, like, there'd be this display case, and every single night it would be empty, so, during the day he could be admired by everyone, and then at night they could probably, they probably have a system at that museum where they can walk around. I mean, if I were going to be a toy, I would like to live forever in a toy museum. And that's a perfectly good choice. And then obviously the question then becomes, well, is that going to outweigh Andy's commitment? Sorry, not Woody's commitment
Yes.
to Andy and also to his friends. And yeah, I mean it's a really good kind of question to prod at what's his face's Woody's motivations and goals and desires.
Yeah, that's the thing you mentioned with Buzz and Woody. Like their arcs are something that I think everyone can. Everyone knows that Woody eventually is not going to be salty about Buzz, and everyone knows that Buzz is eventually going to be figure out he's a toy and he's going to accept it as well and be happy with his predicament. But in this one, it's like, oh, you know what, Woody, maybe he would go to like Tokyo and like it. It does feel like it's a really good question that is posed, and it does remind us as well how much we do love our toys as well, and also from just a human perspective, how we all also fear about being kind of useless as well. That's obviously Jesse's thing, which we'll get onto. But yeah, I think Woody's dilemma is the old live fast, die young, or I guess live long and just have an average life. And obviously the message of the movie ends up being that it's the first one, the existential fear of death.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. You just have to live your life and have fun while you can. Obviously,
there's the line. Someone says, "What about when Andy grows up?" And Woody says, "I'm like, we'll get to that when we come to it, but I don't want to miss it for the world."
Yes.
How
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, the Jesse song, again, like the movie shows the other perspective very well, which is why it's so good.
Very much.
The Jesse song shows how the pain of, losing loved ones and being useless and forgotten, like, it's just executed beautifully. And so that side of the argument is shown really well.
Yeah, I was for some reason, the first time I don't remember, but the second time I was on the verge of tearing up a bit. I had a bit of a lump in my throat with that Jesse song. And I maintained it. It wasn't quite a baby mine moment, but it was up there.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, especially since obviously we like the character.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So much at that point, because she's so upbeat and happy, which I guess is kind of like a nice contrast.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I would have liked it if Jessie was more apprehensive about being a toy for a kid again. Like, she seems to just jump at it.
Yeah, she does go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's not really that big a deal.
Yeah. I guess it kind of didn't have. You got to be. What's the word? Let's just say conservative of what time you can spend on different things. Some things just have to jump into place.
So this whole dilemma, by the way, of Woody going to the museum or being a toy for Andy, it reminded me of something that you like, Michael. Do you want to have a guess at what movie? What movie did that remind me of? The ending of a movie.
Is it a film we've reviewed?
No.
Oh, okay, that's a tough one actually then, because that means I have to think about films that I've seen that I like. That I don't know. That you might have to tell me, because
it's the end of a trilogy.
Well, all I can think of is Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I kind of get you.
So
explain.
And obviously I don't know as much as you, but I thought I'd bring it up because obviously you like that, so you know what I'm coming from. It's where Frodo. So he goes to live with the elves forever. Yes. And Sam stays and has a happy life with his family. And obviously,
I get you.
Frodo would be the toy going to the museum, and Sam would be. Andy's toy, just living his life until he dies. So that is the contrast, and that's what it reminded me of. And I was like, that's complete. Yeah, that's really good actually. And I kind of surprised that I didn't make that connection. I could have made that connection. That's a good connection, Luke. And that's definitely true. There is like an element of you got to abandon the kind of normal human life to live on in the undying lands, as it were, the museum. Yes.
The Night at the Museum, starring Ben Stiller, and. Do you think it's the same universe? The Muniversium. Oh, never mind. Okay. And I guess the other thing is, so I mentioned how in the first film it's kind of dealing with this idea of an existential crisis around not feeling like you're kind of good enough or important enough.
Yes.
And then I kind of said that in the second film it's more about time and longevity. And of course you've got the kind of double whammy of the toys' lack of longevity, because the toys can fall apart and break.
Yes.
And then on top of that, the fact that it is the children grow up and eventually, you become forgotten. And obviously, obviously in this film, it's kind of like, I guess it's almost, you could say it's very morbid in that it's kind of a fate worse than death.
Well, that's what I said at the start. It's quite morbid, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously the big concern, I was talking about existential crisis, the big concern about death is not just that you'll die, but I feel like this was in Coco. They say it's like the second death. The second death is when you're forgotten. So it's like you die, and as long as you've got people who remember you, people who you touch and people who like you, then you kind of are living on, and people are like, remember Luke? Remember the podcast we used to do with him? It's a shame he got killed.
With his great analysis and connections.
A horrible, violent traffic accident.
Oh, wow.
But it's a shame he got burned alive. But, we had fun with the podcast. And then one day, I'll forget about you. And then that will be when you truly die. But in this film, it's like the idea is that people forget about you before you really die. Because it's like, when no kids care about you anymore and you kind of become obsolete, that's the moment which toys are afraid of. And I think that's kind of like I say, a very, you already said it, but I already said it, morbid idea.
Yeah, that exact word does come to mind. Obviously, yes. I do want, I mentioned in the first Toy Story that there is a humanist message in that. And again, reading from the same article, you could argue there is also a humanist message in this. So, Michael, if you will allow me, I'd like to read a bit of that article talking about Toy Story 2, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'll let you do that, yes.
Let me do that. Okay, so, obviously, Woody eventually, he becomes Andy's toy again. And so, I guess this is from the article. So, this is the dilemma. So, are you going to take the safer path of avoiding love and change, which obviously would be going to the museum, so you can fool yourself into believing you can somehow last forever? Woody begins the movie facing the uncomfortable realization of his own mortality, the realization that change in a material would inevitably lead to death and dissolution. Once he discovers the other members of Woody's roundup, however, he finds he is famous, important, providing he is willing to never change and, more importantly, to give up Andy's love. a love that seems less valuable once he realises it will ultimately come to an end. What is being offered looks like a practical material heaven without the risk of mortality, ugliness, or abandonment. All he has to do is give up Andy's limited love and replace it with the endless, though distant, perfection of strangers. It sounds too good to be true, and surely it seems the best possible choice once he hears Jessie's story. Jessie has known real love, as Woody has, but like a jilted lover, she's so full of pain she believes that not only will she never be loved again, but that being loved in the first place wasn't worth her current agony. It's better, so obviously that's the old cliche, is it better to have loved and lost, never to have loved at all? She's more than willing to accept the prospects as root of the sterile, distant approval that comes with a changeless, frozen frame rather than risk such pain again. But it is the truly enlightened Buzz who points out the folly of this hopeless desire for changelessness in the real world. A Buzz who has had to fight being forced back into the cookie-cutter world of hordes of his religious brethren. A Buzz who has deeply taken to Woody's own message that toys are meant to be played with, even broken, because that's the price you pay for the privilege of being alive and loved. Human beings, however much we might otherwise wish, are mortal, fallible, and subject to wear and tear. No matter how many facelifts we have in an attempt to restore lost youth, no matter how many cryogenic heavens we might try to enter, loving and being loved are what makes life worthwhile. And even though death is inevitable, as Woody says, life will be fun while it lasts. Yes, so even though our whole existence is confined to this little planetary toy room, even though we must face a life of limited length in which we risk both physical and emotional injury, that life is still rewarding and worth cherishing.
Yeah, I think we need to get this woman on the podcast. It's a woman, right?
Yes, it is. I'll get the name again. Obviously, I mentioned it before. Yes. This is Lucia Hall. Lucia Hall, writing in The Humanist in March the 1st, 2000. So there you go. Yeah. She's done some really good analogies here.
100%.
Yeah, there's some actually more I forgot. Just a quick sentence. So life has meaning when we are fully engaged with it. We don't need instructions from a supernatural star command, nor the permanence of either a heavenly or earthly toy museum to find that meaning. Toys or people, our humanist purpose is best found in those we love. And again, like you said, I said at the start, I don't think the writers intended to write this from a humanist perspective. Like they weren't reading humanist literature or whatever. Yeah. But it is
they weren't reading any Hume.
It is the message that they settle on and the message that they endorse, and it is a humanist message again.
Yeah, and it's also a good message, a widely applicable message. And obviously it comes from this really interesting film. And one of the things that actually surprised me when I was watching this film is how quickly they get to Al's toy barn. And I was thinking the reason why that's the case is because most of the film, it's not like a let's get from here to there film. It's like a let's deal with these questions kind of film. And obviously there are fun moments, but basically the film isn't that much about the physical obstacles they face. Although they kind of do have to face those just to make the film, actually flow and be entertaining. But there's as much as that, it is definitely about the kind of emotional and ideological obstacles they face.
Yes.
Or as I like to call them, ideal obstacles.
Yeah, that's a good combination. Do you want to talk about the villain for a bit?
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Good. You've read my mind. So I want to talk about the main villain, I think you would argue, is the Prospector, in that he is the
main villain
active agent. Oh yeah, true, yeah. The main villain is time itself.
Yes.
But the thing about the Prospector is, first of all, one of the things I love is the line where he says, and I think, again, you could probably unpack a lot of ideological and philosophical dimensions to this, but just the line that the Prospector is in mint condition. He says, you're still in your box. And he says, yep, mint condition. And it's kind of again, we're talking about how, in the previous film, talking about how you can choose the way you look at things. You can kind of say, oh, you're a space ranger, it's incredible. I'm a space ranger, I fight Emperor Zog. And then obviously say, oh, I'm just a stupid toy now. And obviously he discovers actually being a toy is fantastic. In this film, the idea that he's in mint condition, it's initially presented as this great thing. It's I'm in mint condition, never open. That means I'm really valuable. And that's kind of the narrative that the audience is led to believe. That's what it means. So it's kind of when we're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, he's in mint condition. Great for him. And then of course later on, he says, I'll tell you what's unfair, spending a lifetime on a shelf watching every other toy get sold. And you find out that actually he's deeply insecure about the main thing about him, that he's in mint condition, because he's never been sold. Nobody's ever wanted him. He's kind of never had the life that actual toys take for granted. And I just think that's such a clever thing, the way that line at the start, you don't think about it, but anyways, that's the fundamental basis for why he is, the way he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's clearly, that's the thing, he's clearly damaged, because he's never been loved, because he's always been in this box. So that's why he doesn't want to be played with, because obviously all toys, they derive happiness for being played with, but not him, because he's, like I said, just so damaged. I would like it also. Maybe not. I don't know. It's because you know who voices him?
Yes, Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer, who obviously was playing Fraser at this time in 1999. Obviously, the reason why I mentioned that is because Fraser at that time was at its peak as a TV show. Don't know if you watched Frasier, but I did.
I watch Frasier's one of those things which is like always on, so I kind of just end up watching it just because it's always on. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, I did watch it like back in the day when it was always on, and I watched like every episode, and I really did like it. And
it does seem pretty good.
I was thinking maybe the old prospector could have an insecurity complex where all the old prospectors,
where nobody listens to his psychology radio show.
Maybe. Well, they always get played with, and they end up being like the butt of the joke, like they were in that footage that was being played. But the old prospector hates that, obviously voiced by Kelsey Grammer, who, is meant to be quite pompous in Frasier. Yeah. So I think what's a better message is he doesn't want to be played with because he's damaged. Because he's never been loved. So I think that's
also the kind of like anger about being kind of made fun of and treated as like not taken seriously is also Sideshow Bob's motivation in Krusty Gets Busted. So and obviously that was released. So because Sideshow Bob he basically gets pranked by Krusty, he gets pies thrown in his face and stuff. That's why he decides to frame Krusty with armed robbery. But the other thing is I guess you're kind of like getting at this, but the thing is this villain has a really relatable motivation.
No, yeah, it is.
Like you can, and I was kind of thinking about it because we were talking about. I watched a bit of a sudden change of subject in a way, but I watched a review by Black Panther. My favorite thing about watching reviews about Black Panther, because number one, almost all reviews of Black Panther are negative that I see.
Yes.
But also it's like it's fun to like watch and see how long it takes for somebody to kind of get political in like and see. And basically, this guy literally, one of his criticisms is that he said that he didn't think Black people would be able to form an advanced society even with all of the resources going their way. Anyway, that's just an aside. But basically,
that is great.
I know, yeah, it's
wonderful.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
No, I do listen to those. You sent me that review of Black Panther, where that guy just didn't literally get anything about it, and I was
I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of the like this one and every single one I've seen about Black Panther. So we're talking about Black Panther. Every single one I've seen about Black Panther, like, the first half of the review is just like nitpicks, like, or why is it that they would want to shut themselves off, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at the end of the day, I mean, you can go over the quality of those nitpicks if you like, but they're also just nitpicks that are literally, if you just accept the premise and just say, okay, I've accepted the premise, let's see what this film has to offer, then it's like, fine.
But you'll never see...
Sorry, I interrupted you, but
no, you never see the amount of nitpicking that people do over Black Panther, over, I don't know, Ant-Man. Like,
exactly, yes.
But I do...
Yes, it's suspicious.
I do look at those reviews and I do think, like, oh, maybe, I should keep doing this. Maybe my analysis isn't that bad. Just give me hope that, what I'm saying is actually good because of the quality.
But
of
anyway,
others.
the reason I brought up Black Panther is because one of the things that you really like about Black Panther, and also I like about Black Panther, but I think you like Black Panther slightly more than me, and one of the reasons you say it is because you said you really love the villain's motivation. Mm-hmm, and the villain has really relatable motivation. And obviously, in this sense, it's not a kind of as serious of an issue. It's not about racial relations, but the villain in this has a really relatable motivation. And like the thing is, I don't really fault the Prospector for what he wanted to do. Like, the Prospector, what he does makes complete sense from his perspective. And really, this film, it's less like World War II and it's more like World War One. Neither side is really wrong, and ultimately, you can understand why Germany did what they did, and you can understand why Britain did what they did in World War One. So the Prospector, whereas of course Sid is literally Hitler. So the Prospector, he's more like Kaiser Wilhelm, or
absolutely.
Franz Joseph.
Yeah, I totally agree. I literally wrote... Sorry. I literally wrote, I can understand his motivations. So you and me are on the same page when it comes to the Prospector.
We're Team Prospector. The Prospector did nothing wrong. Trend it. Anyway, I think we could talk about the villain for a while, but we're kind of, we're not doing too great for time. So one thing I want to talk about, I would say there's almost a whole other dimension to talk about, but I want to talk about Woody and Buzz, because we've not really spoken about Woody and Buzz in terms of like their characters. We've more spoken about the abstract ideas. And the first thing I want to say is like, one of the clever decisions I thought was they used Andy's playtime, like playing with the toys, to communicate that Buzz and Woody were good friends, which I thought was kind of like a clever thing. Because obviously one of the things, like I say, in this film, one of the things about this film is it's so efficient with its use of time. And one of the examples of that is that obviously in general, if you just had two characters say, we're friends, then it would not be very convincing at all. But because it's Andy, playing with them, and he says, Woody's fighting, he's like, I choose Buzz Lightyear. And then Buzz Lightyear comes out and it's like, yeah, Buzz, we're a team. And obviously Andy's saying all of this stuff and it makes sense because he's a kid and he would communicate things like this. But then obviously we as the audience get the message of, okay, so yeah, Buzz and Woody are really good friends now. I thought that was kind of clever because if you were going to try and tell it in a more conventional way, you would have to have them do things together that really communicated that they're friends. And that would require a whole other, maybe scene together. But instead they did this really efficient thing of just having Andy communicate with their friends, and we obviously accept that. So I thought that was a really clever decision.
I
don't know
agree.
if you have anything to say about that. And then the other thing is, and like, it's just, I really liked that they brought in these expanded universes, if you like, for Buzz and Woody. Like both of them get these kind of interesting. Woody obviously gets the more interesting ones, so I guess maybe we'll talk about Buzz first. I already mentioned Zurg, but like, it's just like kind of fun that you have Buzz. He's got this villain Zurg, and we see Zurg, and Zurg obviously starts hunting him down. And I guess you could say Zurg's like a tertiary villain. Obviously not for very long, but it's decent enough. And then there's this whole thing about how do we defeat Emperor Zurg? And while I'm on that, the delusional factory setting Buzz Lightyear was just so entertaining in this, like the way and the little things like how the way that you defeat Zurg in the game is reincorporated into the actual film, where it's like to the shadows in the left. To the left in the shadows, rather. And that's where they find the entrance into the Owl's office. And just, I don't know, yeah, what do you think about Buzz's expanded universe? Like the new dimension to his character and his world.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a nice choice to have him experience that again. Again, create some good comedic moments. Taking a bit of what made the first movie so fun, putting us in this movie. So yeah, it was a good idea. Yeah.
And then I guess so the next one, obviously though, and the bigger one is of course that we then get this expanded universe for Woody too, and we get Bullseye and Jesse, and obviously temporarily the Prospector. Of course, the Prospector goes after this, but I think that was really kind of good too, and it sort of made sense. Oh, and also I guess even the fact that Sputnik was the reason why cowboy films became unpopular and suddenly sci-fi films took over, which I think is possibly kind of accurate to real life. Like I think there were a lot of cowboy films in the 50s and 40s and 50s, and then more sci-fi films, I guess, kind of started appearing in the 60s and 70s. It's not quite perfect, but and that's obviously Woody and Buzz's conflict from the first film.
Yeah, I really like
extrapolated
that
onto the entire planet. Yeah,
I did really like that.
But yeah, anything else? I mean, I don't know if I have anything else to say apart from just that it's nice. And I guess also, yeah, what do you have to say about Woody's kind of expanded universe, like the characters that we see introduced there and the ideas?
Well, no, again, it was just a really good idea. Again, like we talked about it from the first movie, but you got an interesting concept, and you just keep coming up with new ideas. That really, just make the world more interesting for these characters. So yeah, I really did like it. Yeah, well done.
And apart from that, that's everything. I mean, apart from so that's everything about the plot, really. Yeah. I mean, again, I think if we were really pushing, I think we probably could have done a whole episode just on Toy Story 2, and possibly even a whole episode on Toy Story. So yeah, it was very ambitious, and I wasn't really thinking when I said let's try and do Toy Story 3 as well. So yeah,
no, I knew that one.
You had more foresight than me, but humor.
So I didn't feel like the script was as good. I think there was less laughing moments. There was less funny moments. I noticed there was more references in this one. You had
I like the Jurassic Park. Yeah, I like the Jurassic Park reference just because I was like, but there were a whole load of references. I mean, some of them, like, I think the one good thing I'll say is that none of the references were like obnoxious. I think the quote unquote worst one, if you like, was the "I am your father" thing. Even I say worse, and it was the most obvious, but it wasn't bad. It was kind of just like, I mean, it was a bit. I didn't find it funny. But I was like, I wasn't like, oh, that's cringy. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I was just like, there's a reference to Star Wars. There you have it.
But then I think the thing is, even then, I think what you'll give them credit for is that they kind of built on that. Like, first of all, you have the scene where Zoe falls off and you just get Buzz like appear over the side and go, "Father," and he's like upset. But then also, of course, I've got some catching up to do with my dad.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that him, and so even then, it's like obviously a bit of an obvious reference, but they build on it. So you've got to give them credit there. But apart from that, I think generally speaking, the humor, I mean, I didn't write down any real standout comedic moments for here. So I don't know about you. I guess maybe we could talk about actually. Okay, tell me if you've got any standout moments. And I've got one.
No, that's the thing. I don't really have any moments where I laughed.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I guess this film had the little post-credit B-roll. Is that what it's called? Like bloopers.
The bloopers, yeah.
Which were fine. I mean, they're fun. They were already in Bug's Life, so
all right.
There we go. Also, by the way, actually, one other thing about the production of Toy Story 2, we could probably next thing we're going to talk about is the animation, right? Oh wait, hold on. Have you spoken about Jesse's? We did speak about Jesse's song, didn't we? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we covered it quite well. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, one thing about this film, I remember seeing this. I don't know if it's there. You've got any details about it, but I heard it through word of mouth, so it must be true. Which is apparently they literally. They wrote something, like the people wrote it. John Lasseter, I guess it was doing this again, wrote it, and he didn't. See if I can get this right. He wasn't very happy with it, but the Disney executives, probably that whatever his name is again, were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine." And then he was like, "No, it's not fine. I want to go back. We should go back and we should redraft it and we should make it better." And Disney said, "We're not going to push back the production date. So you can try and make it better, but we're not going to hold off from releasing the film just because you're a perfectionist." So literally, the team really rushed to make a completely, retool loads of the film to create the final result. So again, another example of some production hell, which actually, the people making it were able to overcome and produce a really good film. So yeah, I don't know if you got anything there, but I heard it in a film. I saw a video essay or something about Pixar, and I mean, video essays don't lie.
Yeah, no, they definitely do not, as we have seen discussing Black Panther.
Yes.
They don't like, yeah.
It's generous to call them video essays, though.
Okay, fine. So, the animation. I think it's quite a bit better than the first one. That's the thing, they sunk a lot more money into it. Again, you can look up Wikipedia, it's just the insane detail they spent on it. Like 2 million pieces of dust were put on that shelf when Woody's talking to that penguin.
Oh, yeah.
It's just...
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah.
It's just, I think it's a lot better, a lot cleaner. And yeah, they spent that money wisely that they had. So yeah, I think the animation was quite a bit of a step up.
Well, yeah, I didn't really notice it, but I think if you just think about the things that they were able to do and kind of like the decisions they made that I think they probably wouldn't have or couldn't have made in the previous film. So it's like so it's not just the quality of the animation, but also just the things that they were able to do. Like, I don't think they would have tried to have like a scene with dust in the original, kind of like, and that's also what a lot of this Disney animation stuff has been all about, kind of like trying new things. Like, I feel like Frozen, they hadn't really got snow down, so then they were like, okay, let's get snow down and then we can do Frozen. Anyway, have we got anything else to say apart from animation?
No, I don't think we do.
All right, good. So how long have we been talking for? Let's see. Oh, not bad. Yeah, good. Decent length. So, do you want to wrap up? Because I wrapped up last time.
Yeah, no, I'll go first. So yeah, I think Toy Story 2, obviously, it delves deeper into the characters, while also retaining that like fun spirit and the heart of the original film. I think the themes, like we've discussed, are more interesting in this one. Obviously, the dilemma that Woody's facing. Also, we didn't talk about the end sequence. Obviously, I talked about in Toy Story 1.
Oh, that was really fun.
I really like the end sequence in Toy Story 1. This end sequence in Toy Story 2, when obviously Woody gets to be the hero, running Bullseye and rescuing Jessie using his lasso. It's quite good. Not as good as the first one from Toy Story 1.
Not as clinical as the kids are saying.
You really love that phrase, as the kids are saying, don't you?
Yeah. I do, yeah.
So yeah, that's, again, it's not as good, but it's still really quite good. The whole Toy Story 2, it doesn't feel as fresh, obviously, it wouldn't. And part of that perhaps isn't because the script isn't as good as the first Toy Story, but this, interestingly, also does have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and also has more reviews, has like double the amount of reviews for it. So this, I think I said when we were reviewing Ladybird actually passed Toy Story 2 as the highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, this movie is very well received, and I'm not going to give it quite as high a rating as I did for Toy Story 1, but it's still going to get a 9 out of 10 from me.
Okay, see, I actually am kind of the opposite for you on this. Like, I really did enjoy this film, and I think part of that is because I think that I think the main positives for me were that the themes were, I think, more strong in this film, and that like there were some really interesting kind of existential questions in the first film, but I think many of those questions were made better in this film, and were more of a focus, and also was the fact that it was a genuine question, which I kind of liked. And again, I'm obviously also love Toy Story 1, so this is a very minor kind of, very, very similar, but I think that was slightly better. And also I like the fact that they did introduce much more to the characters, and, kind of build up the world of this universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually for that reason that for me, I'm switching the script, and for me, Toy Story 2 is going to be my second best film of all time.
Oh, wow.
Behind, so same as you, but I mean, so I shouldn't say of all time of this podcast. So behind 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and above La La Land. Again, and the thing is, like, what you were saying about how you can't give it a 10 because it feels like a 10 has to be this incredible thing. That's basically my thing as well, because obviously it is next to a 10. 3 Billboards is a 10. I guess if I were doing the 0.5s, I would say 9.5. Obviously, I get much more clinical in a way than a 0.5s because I literally rank them in order. But yeah, so number 2 slot, and yeah, again, for the same reasons you said, it's not going to be a 10, but I really do think that the themes and, I think it's they're both really good films. But yeah, for me, I liked that it did do a bit more, I think, on the thematic level. Yes.
You are correct. I do agree that the themes are better. And I think, sorry, the criticism, I should say, the one thing I do agree is a valid criticism, which I think literally the criticism you made, which is I don't think the storytelling and the narrative is quite as, I feel like I've used this word far too many times, but clinical. Why am I using that word? I can't think of any other word, but yes. Yeah, no, it just, the story and the plot wasn't as good, the humour wasn't as good, which is what knocked it down for me.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously I was not as on with the humour in the original as you were, so it kind of that makes sense. Anyway,
predictions now for Toy Story 4, Michael. What do you think it is going to get on Rotten Tomatoes? Actually, I think it's time for me to go first for this one, so I'm going to predict. So obviously, I don't know what Toy Story 3 got, but obviously 1 and 2 got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I am going to guess 95. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I should say this. Number one, I actually kind of don't want it to do well because it kind of annoys me that it exists. I think Toy Story 3 was pushing it. And I don't know, unless they do something incredible. And like I said, I haven't seen the trailer. And I guess, obviously, the fact that you've seen a trailer and you still think it's good is maybe a good sign. But, I'm curious. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm kind of happy I haven't seen the trailer. I'm curious to see what they'll do with the idea of making another Toy Story, because it seemed like Toy Story 3 was such a logical ending. I don't think it was a perfect ending, but I think it was a logical ending. And also, I think I will probably be more down on it than the critics will be. What number did you say? Sorry, I just need to know so I don't...
I gave 95.
Well, I guess I'll go below you to 90.
90? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it'll be lower. I think lower might be more reliable, so I think I'm probably in a good situation, but we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll do something incredible. And even the thing is, even if it is incredible, I think critics do give Pixar kind of an easy time, and I do enjoy Pixar, but I think Pixar gets, people are more likely to give a film a good review if it's Pixar because Pixar has such a good representation. I mean, what's the word? A reputation, because they came out, I mean, those first, how many films was it that Pixar did that was just hit after hit? It was everything until Cars. It was 6 or 7 films, and then they had Cars, but 6 or 7 films which are all classics. So, well done them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. We'll see on that one, but we do have receipts. This one is for X-Men Dark Phoenix. So, Michael, you predicted it.
Is that out?
It is out. When we're recording, it's out tomorrow, but the Rotten Tomatoes score's already in. It's got 160 reviews or something already. You predicted it would get 81% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And you went lower.
I predicted it would get 76% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I have to tell you, Michael, I won.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I
What did you get?
was not close. It got 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
how are they? I mean,
sorry, go on.
Do you remember what I said when I predicted it would get quite high review?
No, what did you say?
There was a specific reason. Okay, I said that I read on Wikipedia the Dark Phoenix saga is considered to be the best superhero comic arc of all time.
Mm-hmm.
By random people, comic book nerds, but it's considered to be one of the best comic, up there with the Dark Knight Returns and things like that. And that's why I said, well, I mean, they can't, and the thing is also in The Last Stand, X-Men The Last Stand, they tried to do it and they failed. And obviously X-Men The Last Stand is one of the worst of the first original 3 X-Men films.
Yeah.
And I was like, they can't fail again, but Jesus, I mean,
I think it's the lowest rated X-Men film ever.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And the thing is, I mean, you know what I'm doing, Lou, don't you? I'm doing, right now, I'm working on a thing for my actual channel called why the X-Men cinematic universe was a failure is the video I'm working on. It's kind of expanding on a lot of what I said in the Logan thing, but now I've got to bring that up too. So I've got to redraft it.
Yeah,
redraft that script and bring up the fact that it's got 23% wow.
Yeah, that is, so it is comfortably the worst. I think the one that was previously the worst was Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this one is comfortably the worst. 23%. Dark Phoenix ends the X-Men franchise by taking a second stab at adapting a classic comics arc with deeply disappointing results. Apparently it's just a mess. That's what I've got from it. It's just an absolute mess.
Yeah, oh goodness me, how embarrassing for them. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but how embarrassing for them. Anyway, apart from that, what are we doing next week? Should I tell you, Luke?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, I already mentioned it. It's going to be a big one. Okay, we've been looking at some Butch League stuff up until this point. Aladdin, more like Alad Who, but now we're looking at Roadhouse, the classic Patrick Swayze film. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, I've never heard of Roadhouse. Well, don't worry, we've got.
What do you mean? Roadhouse is pretty famous, Michael. Come on.
I'm doing a sarcasm.
Oh, right.
Okay. Get ready for this, okay? You ready? So you never heard of Roadhouse, but we've got the much more famous Patrick Swayze film of the same year, Next of Kin. So if you weren't excited about Roadhouse, get hyped for Next of Kin.
We're just going to rebrand this as a Patrick Swayze episode, like a Patrick Swayze tribute.
Patrick select and Swayze.
Yeah. So yes, that'll be coming up next week. So who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And I've been Luke. Thank you for listening. We have been selecting and reflecting on Toy Story 1 and 2, some of the best animated movies and the best, in my opinion, animated movie of all time, Toy Story 1, because of Toy Story 4. Join us next time for Roadhouse and Next of Kin. Goodbye.
Goodbye.